Good day, everyone. We're coming on the air with breaking news. A long-awaited report has just been released about President Biden's handling of classified documents that were found at his home and office. This follows a year-long investigation by special counsel Robert Hur into just how those documents, many of which appear to be from Mr. Biden's time in the Obama administration, got stored there and why. This investigation separate from the case against former President Trump, who has been charged for allegedly mishandling classified documents. The White House says President Biden voluntarily returned the documents and cooperated with the investigation. Ken Delaney is NBC's Justice and Intelligence correspondent. Ken, what does the report find?
Lester, special counsel Robert Hur found that President Biden did willfully retain and disclose classified information, which is a crime, but ultimately decided that criminal charges are not warranted in this case. And he said that that would be true despite the Justice Department's policy that a sitting president can't be charged. In other words, even if that policy wasn't in place, Mr. Hur would have recommended no criminal charges against the former president. Nonetheless, there are some significant findings in here, the most alarming of which is that the special counsel found that then Vice President Biden discussed finding classified documents at a home he was using in Virginia in 2017 in a recording with a ghostwriter who was working on his memoir. And the special counsel concluded that those were likely the same documents that the FBI found in Mr. Biden's home in Delaware in 2022. And that was a significant fact, an incriminating fact. But the special counsel also found that Mr. Biden may well have forgotten about that incident and that it would be, in any case, very difficult to prove a criminal case. And I just want to read you a very telling passage. Mr. Hur's team wrote, "We've also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview with him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory." And he said that based on our direct interactions and observations of him, he is someone for whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. So in other words, they found that while Mr. Biden did willfully retain this classified information, it's unlikely they could win a conviction, and it wouldn't even be in the interest of justice. And I should say, Lester, that this report makes a point of distinguishing this Biden case from the Trump case. It says that, its role is not to evaluate the prosecution of Mr. Trump, but based on the plain facts, there are several distinguishing features, namely that Mr. Trump refused to hand over classified documents that were requested, and he's accused of obstructing justice by ordering subordinates to destroy evidence and then lie about it. So Rob Hur, a special counsel who is a longtime Republican appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland, saying there's a clear distinction between the conduct of President Biden and the conduct of Mr. Trump. The other significant thing I want to communicate to you is that the main classified documents that Mr. Biden apparently withheld and kept at his home had to do with his role in the debate over surging troops to Afghanistan during the Obama administration back in 2009. If you recall, Mr. Biden was one of the few voices arguing against sending more troops to Afghanistan. And the report says he wanted to preserve the record of his arguments, except that those were highly classified at some of the highest levels of the government. And so he kept those documents. The report says he also kept a series of notebooks that mingled personal, everyday, diary-like observations with highly classified material. And the report makes clear that these actions, in the view of the special counsel, presented a serious risk to national security. But, Lester, ultimately, they said it did not rise to the level of a criminal prosecution.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.